morning and welcome to NTD News. I'm Cindy Drucare. With more demonstrations planned for this weekend in Hong Kong, pro-democracy protesters are calling for more support from the international community.
A weekend of protests began Friday night local time. Stand with Hong Kong, power to the people is the theme of the rally in Chater Garden, which was joined by students from 12 colleges and universities. About 60,000 people participated. The organizers hope that the world will pay attention to Hong Kong and support the United States bill, the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act. Under pressure from the Chinese Communist Party, Hong Kong police are adopting increasingly tougher measures against protesters, drawing public condemnation. After seeing some local business magnates express their support for the Chinese regime, ex-chief editor of the Hong Kong Economic Journal, Yi Zhenglian, is urging them to act more conscientiously. We wish that the kind people within Hong Kong's business circle, even if they cannot openly support the protest in Hong Kong, that they support it non-publicly, especially internationally. Hong Kong singer Denise Ho also shared her thoughts at the scene, saying, "We have to stand strong and stand together."
At a time when the government is not speaking for the people, people should come out and speak for themselves.
Before the rally ends, people among the huge crowds keep shouting, "See you in Victoria Park on August 18th. Reporting by Eleanor Tsao, NTD News.
And the Hong Kong protesters are hoping for a record turnout this weekend. Events will be live streamed on the Epoch Times website. Coverage begins Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time and again the same time on Sunday. To see the events as they happen, go to ntd.com/live.html or theepochtimes.com/live. You can also tune in on our Facebook pages. And the Chinese Communist Party recently hinted could use force to quell Hong Kong's pro-democracy protests. It's raising concerns in the international community. People worry Hong Kong could turn into another Tiananmen Square massacre, when 30 years ago the regime sent in tanks to quell the student protests. But some say the chances of the troops entering the city is still low due to a number of factors.
Walter Lohman, director of the Heritage Foundation's Asia Studies Center, said that China has to consider the ongoing U.S.-China trade war before letting the People's Liberation Army cross the border and start a crackdown, which,
that is going to affect U.S.-China relations across the board. And truth is, we will have no trade agreement. So it doesn't have to really be a conscious policy or a tie. It's just the bottom line.
He said the U.S. now has a president who is different from George W. Bush, who, after the Tiananmen Square massacre, vetoed a Congress effort to punish China, at a time when Congress was trying to strip China from the most favored nation status. But President Trump,
he wouldn't veto it. It would just be, the end of one country, two systems, and it would put U.S.-China relationship in a deep freeze for a very long time.
Another factor, he said, is the 30,000 armed police force in Hong Kong, though Hong Kong police haven't shied away from firing tear gas and beanbag bullets at protesters.
But in case of an international conflict, in case of the Chinese coming in like that, I'm not sure that they would. I'm not sure that would stay the same. Do they fight for loyalty to Beijing, or do they fight loyalty to their families and their friends?
The protests, which started in early June, have involved more and more parties into the conflict. The CEO of Cathay Pacific Airways resigned today after the airline was pressured by the Chinese regime to suspend its staff who support the protesters. Hong Kong's richest man, business magnate Li Ka-shing, made his first comments today by calling for a stop to the violence, though he did not indicate which party is to blame.
And according to multiple media reports, the Trump administration is moving ahead with the sale of F-16V fighter jets to Taiwan. The deal is reportedly worth $8 billion and has been a long sought-for upgrade by the island nation. As NTD's Holly Kellum reports, China is threatening consequences if the U.S. goes through with the deal.
This is an F-16 fighter jet. The Trump administration reportedly alerted Congress yesterday that it's going ahead with selling the latest generation of the F-16 to Taiwan.
They will be used to to defend the eastern part of the island. Training, it improves interoperability, it improves operational rates, and of course it reduces the average age of the Taiwan Air Force fleet.
Taiwan requested 66 F-16s while Obama was in office. Instead of selling them the planes, though, the Obama administration offered upgrades to Taiwan's current F-16s. Hammond Chambers said the Obama administration bowed to pressure from China, which sees Taiwan as a part of the mainland.
I would argue it hurts our interests in the region, and we downgraded defense relations with Taiwan as a consequence, which destabilized, not increased, stability in the Taiwan Strait in North Asia.
The news comes as the U.S. is working on a trade deal with China.
They very much want to make a deal. We'll see what happens.
And as Beijing is showing its muscle to protesters in the semi-autonomous city of Hong Kong. Protesters want a controversial bill revoked that would allow Beijing to prosecute people in Hong Kong. China's foreign ministry today threatened strong reactions and said the U.S. would bear all the consequences if it went through with the aircraft deal. Of the few U.S. lawmakers who reacted to the proposed deal today, all were positive. Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz applauded the news, saying on Twitter that with China building up its military to threaten the U.S. and our allies, now more than ever it is critical that Taiwan has the support needed to defend itself. The deal still needs to be approved by the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and the House Foreign Affairs Committee. It's not yet clear when the deal will be announced publicly. Holly Kellum, NTD News.
The death of financier Jeffrey Epstein has been ruled a suicide. The medical examiner's office today said that Epstein hanged himself. This comes after much speculation in the media that he might have been murdered. His former bodyguard told New York Magazine that he thought Epstein had help with the suicide. Epstein was put on suicide watch after he was found unconscious in his cell on July 23rd. However, questions remain about why he was taken off suicide watch after about a week. The 66-year-old was found dead in his cell on Saturday. Epstein was accused of sexually abusing numerous underage girls over several years. If convicted of the charges, he could have faced up to 45 years in prison. Hunter Biden, son of presidential candidate Joe Biden, is facing congressional scrutiny during a probe into a recent Chinese acquisition of an American manufacturing company.
In a letter to Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley has named Hunter Biden as having a potential conflict of interest in a new congressional inquiry. The probe is examining the dealings behind the purchase of an American maker of anti-vibration technologies, Henniges Automotive. Henniges was acquired for $600 million in September 2015 by a Chinese Communist Party-owned aviation company and an investment firm with ties to the party. The Aviation Industry Corporation of China acquired 51%, while Bohai Harvest RST acquired 49%. The Obama-era Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S., or CFIUS, approved the transaction when Joe Biden was the vice president. Hunter Biden and Chris Heinz, the stepson of former Secretary of State John Kerry, also reportedly had stakes in Bohai Harvest RST. CFIUS approved the transaction even though the Chinese aviation company was reportedly involved in the theft of sensitive data, which was then incorporated into China's J-20 and J-31 aircraft. The senator gave Mnuchin until August 29th to respond to the inquiry.
A federal appeals court has ruled to allow asylum restrictions to take effect in some parts of the country, but not others, marking a partial win for the Trump administration. The Departments of Justice and Homeland Security passed a policy last month saying that people who arrive at the southern border via third countries and who didn't seek asylum in those countries wouldn't be allowed to claim asylum in the United States. A California district judge blocked the rule from going into effect nationwide. But today, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that the restriction could be applied to some parts of the southern border. Specifically, the rule will apply in Texas and New Mexico, but not California and Arizona, two states under the court's jurisdiction. And this morning in New York City, 2 items placed conspicuously in a busy subway station triggered a bomb scare. NTD's Miguel Morano has more from Manhattan.
A bomb scare broke the rhythm of rush hour in Lower Manhattan. Just a few blocks away from where the Twin Towers once stood, 2 mysterious kitchen items were left in the Fulton Street subway station, alarming New Yorkers.
Now, both turned out to be rice cookers. There were actually 2, one on the mezzanine and one on the platform.
And in Chelsea, a 3rd rice cooker was found. Assistant Chief De La Torre said they don't know if these rice cookers are related.
The police responded so efficiently, and their spokesperson, John Miller, I thought was terrific in the way he expounded on how they would follow up.
The police have released pictures of the man who abandoned the rice cookers in the station, but so far he has not been found. These rice cookers were mistaken for pressure cooker bombs, the type of bomb used in a 2016 attack in Chelsea that injured at least 30 people. A former NYPD officer told us people can't be too careful.
Because you never know. Even when I worked, I had to respond to areas like that. And we had to be very cautious and check it out.
No one was hurt in this morning's investigations. Authorities said they do want to question the person that dropped the 2 rice cookers in the station, but because they don't know what his intentions were, they are not considering him a suspect in what happened here today. Miguel Moreno, NTD News.
Federal authorities have seized nearly $1 million worth of counterfeit smartphones. U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials announced that more than 4,000 counterfeit smartphones were seized in Philadelphia. Shipments came from China through the Dominican Republic. The paperwork listed them as cell phones used. Officials say they will be destroyed. The Bat Squadron was a covert flying unit with a dangerous mission and a high death rate. An exhibition in Washington, D.C. remembers the heroes of this Cold War cooperation between the U.S. and Taiwan.
The Bat Squadron is the nickname of the Taiwanese Air Force's former 34th Squadron. It was a secret reconnaissance unit carrying a telling emblem, a black bat with the stars of the Big Dipper. From 1953 to 1973, during the Cold War era, the Bat Squadron cooperated with the CIA, carrying out nighttime electronic detection missions by penetrating into China in low-level airspace.
This was the state's top secret at the time. Even those martyrs' family members don't know about this.
The Bat Squadron flew 838 missions. 15 aircraft were shot down or accidentally crashed, and 148 people died, accounting for 2/3 of the team.
What's the flight height at night? The standard minimum is 100 to 200 meters, and sometimes the lowest height is only 30 meters. Think about it. Our high-rise buildings are much higher than that. It is truly dangerous.
Xu Yinghui, the father of Maryland resident Xu Ke-er, was a member of the Black Bats. In 1958, he took a plane deep into mainland China to perform a special operation in Guangdong province. The plane was shot down by the People's Liberation Army, killing all 13 aircrew on board. He left behind 5 children. The oldest was 11, and the youngest only 2.
Because he didn't come back, we were told that he was missing, but at that time, we still had great hope, especially my mother, hoping he is still alive.
In 1992, Xu Ke-er went to mainland China with other crew member families. They located the spot of the crash and recovered the remains of all crew members and brought their ashes back to Taiwan after cremation.
Everyone has some grief hidden in the heart. For me, the grief is I felt that I have never called Dad throughout my life.
The Black Bats exhibition material was collected by private Taiwanese organizations. The organizers hope more people will learn about this hidden history and remember the heroes who risked their lives to break through the Red Iron Curtain.
Because they were performing special tasks, these heroes must be kept unknown at that time. But as descendants of the ROC Air Force, we cannot allow these unsung heroes to remain anonymous.
The exhibition continues until September 3rd. Reporting by Kitty Wang, NTD News.
Former Knicks stars John Starks and Larry Johnson at Madison Square Garden, home to the New York Knicks, where they reminisced about the old days. NTD Sydney Wong has more.
It's 2 decades since John Starks played at Madison Square Garden, making him a little nostalgic. I can remember taking the court and running through the tunnel and looking up and seeing all these banners up here and all these jerseys up here. It just gave me chill bumps, and still to this day, it still do.
Starks played for the Knicks from 1990 to 1998. He still remembers the day he made history during Game 2 of the 1993 Eastern Conference Finals, when the Knicks and Chicago Bulls were locked in a tight battle. As guard and fan favorite, Starks successfully dunked over opponent Horace Grant and Michael Jordan. The Knicks went on to win the game. A picture of the iconic moment known as the dunk is now on the wall of MSG. People describe it as perhaps the single most famous play in Knicks history.
Knowing that, I've been a part of a special moment here, many special moments here, along with so many incredible people that has donned that particular floor down there, is very special.
He shared his advice for anyone who's chasing their dreams.
I would tell them to keep pushing, and hopefully one day their dreams will come true. Mine came true when nobody else thought that it would.
His teammate for 2 years with the Knicks, Larry Johnson, played on the team from 1996 to 2001. It was the last team he played for.
John and I, we took a walk, and it was a little different walking on the court without a basketball court on it, so, it's a little different seeing a court like that.
Johnson looks forward to the Knicks making a comeback.
I know our team, we're rebuilding, and we're doing a great job. We got some youngsters coming in, and I think we'll be very exciting this year, and we're on the way up.
2 decades after playing for the Knicks, they're still working for the team and, as ever, excited about and dedicated to the dream. Reporting by Sydney Wong, NTD News, New York.
The upcoming Disney live-action remake of Mulan is facing a boycott after its Chinese star expressed support for Hong Kong police following weeks of increasing hostility and confrontations with pro-democracy protesters.
Chinese actress Liu Yifei wrote on the social media platform Weibo in Mandarin, quote, "I support Hong Kong police. You can attack me now," adding in English, "What a shame for Hong Kong," end quote. 10 weeks of confrontations between police and protesters have plunged Hong Kong into its worst crisis since it reverted from British to Chinese rule in 1997. The protests began in opposition to a now suspended bill that would have allowed the extradition of suspects for trial in mainland China, but has since swelled into wider calls for democracy. More than 700 people have been arrested since the protests began in June, and police have been frequently using tear gas on protesters. The Chinese Communist Party has a history of suppressing its people, as one person wrote on Twitter, quote, "Several Chinese celebrities are voicing their opinions in favor of China to protect themselves and their families. Freedom of speech does not exist in China," end quote. Since Liu's post, many people have taken to Twitter to criticize the actress and call on a boycott on Mulan, making Boycott Mulan a trending hashtag worldwide. Liu, a popular star of Chinese film and dramas, is a naturalized citizen of the United States. Mulan is scheduled for release in 2020.
And that's all for today's NTD News. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Cindy Drucare.